everybody. We are back, and we are glad to have you back as well. Back in Sunday school. We have missed you. My name is Bev Smith, and this is...
Hi, I'm Megan.
We're back, and we will be doing your stories again for you. This year has been a roller coaster. Everything is different. But one thing that is still the same is, guess what? It's almost fall, and you guys are back at school. When you get to go back to school, you get to see your friends. We've been missing them all summer long, just like we've been missing you, friends. And we are glad you're there. Now, things are looking a little differently lately. You might be at school full-time. You might be at school part-time and home online part-time. Or you might be at home the whole time, taking class online. So, either way, I hope you get to see your friends one way or another. Friends are something we look forward to seeing when we go back to school. I know I did, and I'm sure Megan did. But for some kids, it's not so much of a fun adventure. Sometimes we encounter those people that we call bullies, the people who make it not so much fun. Now, bullying has been around a long, long time. Megan's mom, Ellen, told me, Bev, do you know who some of the biggest bullies are in the Bible? And I said, you know what, I've not really ever thought about that. The biggest bully in the Bible was Goliath. Let me show you who he is. This is Goliath. Goliath is supposed to be about 9 feet tall. Some stories say he's 9 feet, 9 inches tall. Our wall is only 8 feet, 8 inches tall. So Goliath is at least that much taller or that much taller than our wall. And take note, this is a boy named David who is in our story. Goliath is much taller than David. So let's dive into our story. Our story is called David and Goliath. Now, so I don't forget, I want to tell you that if you have the Spark Story Bible, you can find it on page 130. If you have one of the Bibles, because you are one of the older kids, then you can find it in the Spark Bible on page 314. Okay, so you can go back and watch the video again to find out where to find it if you want to read it in your Bible. Okay, so speaking of, I'm going to read part of the story out of our Bible. So, for David and Goliath. Long time ago, there was a war. And there was a war between a Philistine army and an Israelite army. And they were camped out in the mountains for about 40 days. They were both in the mountains. And in between, there is a valley, and I believe there was a river. So every day, for about twice a day, on the Philistine army, they had Goliath. And Goliath, like I said, was a big bully. He would come out and he would tease the people of the Israelite army. And he would say, come out and fight. Come on, chickens, come out and fight. So he would stand down there in the valley and he would be yelling at them and taunting them all over the place. Well, one day we had a little boy who came over to the Israelite army with some food for his brothers. And Megan, I'm going to let you go ahead and hold this. I'll just let you hold it. Anyway, so Goliath came out into the valley on the 81st time, and he's taunting the army again. And he said, okay, let's settle this war. Now, I'm not sure if they've been fighting yet or not, because the Israelites are really afraid of that big giant. So Goliath comes out and he says, come on. I know you got your little sticks out there, And what, you think I'm a dog, you're going to beat me with your little sticks, because they have spears, but because they are so much smaller than Goliath, their spears aren't as big as his. So he's teasing him, and he says, come on, let's settle this war once and for all. You send somebody out and fight me, okay? So he says, who will fight me? Goliath roared, waving his spear. Who can face the mighty Goliath? He shouted, lifting up his sword. Saul and his army were afraid. They could not win against the Philistines. They could not beat Goliath. Surely they would be captured and become his slaves. They were so scared that when Goliath started yelling at them, the trees started shaking, the leaves started shaking, and the birds hid. And the Israelite army backed up. They didn't want to fight that guy. So a beam of light was shining on Goliath's bronze helmet, and his voice, like I said, shook those leaves, and the birds went and hid. Send out your best warrior, Goliath ordered. Let him fight against me. If I win, you will be our slaves. If you win, we will be your slaves, and we will serve your God. So when Goliath was teasing them, a lot of his teasing was about the Israelites' God and making fun of them. Anything he could do to make them mad and come out and fight. So Saul waited, and pretty soon there was a little tug on his clothes of King Saul. There comes David, who's just a little boy. And he's tugging and tugging, and he goes, King Saul, King Saul. King looks at him. He's just a little boy, tells him to go away. He tugs some more, and he tugs some more, and he says, King Saul, I will fight Goliath. King Saul looks at David, and he says, but you're just a little boy. What are you going to do? Now, David has at least 4 brothers fighting in the Israelite army. And he's at home protecting their sheep. He protects them from bears, and he protects them from wolves, and he protects them from all kinds of other animals. And so he told King Saul, he said, King Saul, God is with me. God protects me and my sheep. He protects us from wolves, and he protects us from bears and all those other angry animals. Let me go. If God is with me then, God will be with me now. So, King Saul, all right. David bent down and he picked up 5 little smooth stones, and he put them in a pocket. And he took a slingshot, which is a piece of leather strap, and he went on his merry way after the king showed him how to find the path to get down to the valley. All right, so when David gets down to the valley and Goliath is down there with him. Now these are finger puppets, and Goliath doesn't look really big, but Goliath is really big because you saw him on the wall. So when David gets down to the valley and Goliath is down there, Goliath starts laughing. It's like, are you going to fight me? Seriously? You're just a little boy. Well, David didn't care. He could tease him all he wanted. He didn't care. He's got God on his side. So he went into his pocket or his pouch, and he picked out 1 stone, and he put it in his slingshot, like I said, as a piece of leather strap, and it's on our picture. And he put the stone in there, and he started swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, and finally he lets it go, and that rock lands. Megan, where did that rock land?
On Goliath's forehead.
Smack dab in the middle of his forehead, and he goes crashing down. So in your story Bible, we have a picture of his feet. He is on the ground. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody yelled, timber, on the way down, because that's what lumberjacks do. They all timber when the trees are coming down. So Goliath was a pretty big guy, and he fell pretty hard with a big thud. And David went over there and he pulled off his helmet and he took that helmet back to the army and made his army happy. But when the Philistines saw that Goliath had fallen, they were afraid because a little boy had taken down a big giant. And so they ran off in fear. They were afraid. So out of our story, we have a little boy who beats a mighty, nasty giant, a big bully. And when you are back in school, like you are, and you're hearing stories about a friend, maybe, who's been bullied, help that friend. All friends need friends, especially when they have a bully. This is a story about bullying. This is a story about kids being small who can do mighty things. Remember, I've been telling you guys for years that you might be 3, you might be 4, you might be little in size, you might be young, but you can do mighty things. And remember to trust in God. This is a story about trusting God. If God is on your side, you can do anything. I have a little magnet that was given to me a long time ago. It has a Bible verse on it from Luke 1, chapter 37. It says, with God, nothing is impossible. I like to turn it around and say, with God, all things are possible. So trust in God, keep God on your side, because with God, all things are possible. Now, when I was getting ready for this story, I found, I actually heard on the radio last week a song called Confidence. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a song called Confidence by Sanctus Real. And this story has Goliath in there, or David actually in there. And it has some other Bible characters like Moses and Daniel. Listen to this song because it fits into our story really well. And you can YouTube it and find it on YouTube.
We'll link it. There will be a link right on it.
Okay, we'll give you a link because there is also the one we're going to give you has the words on it, and then there is also another YouTube, which I had to go find another YouTube video where there are kids acting out the actions. So I want you guys to check into those too. Okay? One more thing before we go. Next week is September 20th, and we are having game time at 9:30. Okay? So I want you to tune in, and we hope you guys are doing well. We want you to continue doing well, and we can't wait till we can see you again. So until next time, bye!
Bye.